All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on whichever part of the world you're from. I already see quite a lot of people in the participant list, so I hope we're good to start. All right. All right. Thank you, folks. My name is Kalyan. I'm your host today, and we will be talking about elevating continuous testing or, uh, you know, putting continuous testing into practice every day using Testsigma and Azure DevOps. It is not necessarily Azure DevOps, but any CI/CD platform that you may have. So how do you integrate Testsigma with any of your CI/CD pipelines and get into continuous testing? That is what is the webinar topic for today. I am joined by Vishnu, who is a pre-sales consultant at Testsigma. He will be showcasing the integrations and also how do you create tests and all of that with Azure DevOps pipelines. So the agenda for today is a little about Testsigma. For those of you who do not necessarily or who haven't previously tried Testsigma, we will give you a very short brief of what Testsigma is, what you'll be able to do with Testsigma. Then we will talk a little bit about why is it important to have continuous testing and what role does automation testing play in continuous testing. Then we will go to the actual demo of our product itself, where we will be showcasing how do you create automated tests using plain English. And for the very first time, we are also going to showcase how can you use GenAI within Testsigma to be able to create automated tests. So that's going to be interesting. Hold on for that. And subsequently, we will show you how you can integrate any of your CI/CD pipelines with Testsigma and trigger tests automatically through your CI/CD platforms. Finally, we will be taking any questions that you will have. So that's the agenda for today. Before we start the webinar, some housekeeping notes. So this webinar will be for about 45 minutes. We will start with the presentation and then we will take the Q&A. We will take all of your questions to the end of the webinar. All the attendees will be put on mute so that, it's clear, our audio is very clear to you. And then this webinar is being recorded so that after this webinar, if anybody has missed it or if anybody would like a replay of this webinar, we will be sharing that with you for your reference. All right, with that said, let's start. A little about Testsigma and who we are. Testsigma is a low-code test automation platform. You'll be able to create automated tests for web, mobile applications, desktop applications, APIs, and databases with Testsigma. We are headquartered in San Francisco, California, and we have a couple of offices in India, Bangalore and Chennai. We kind of cater to more than 10,000 QA teams globally and over 200 enterprise companies use Testsigma, and all of these people have executed over 25 million tests in the last 3-4 years with Testsigma. We have about 200 employees globally, and we are rated very well on G2 and other platforms. We are GDPR compliant and SOC 2 compliant. So I was talking a bit about Testsigma. So we are a low-code test automation platform, and what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to create automated tests in plain English using Testsigma. We call this the NLP approach, and you'll be able to test multiple applications. Like I said earlier, it could be web application, it could be your Android application, it could be your iOS applications, it could be your databases, it could be your APIs. All of that, not just functional testing, you'll also be able to do visual testing within Testsigma. And once you create these automated tests, you don't have to look for a device farm elsewhere. We have also a device farm integrated within Testsigma, through which you'll be able to run your tests on 800 plus browser OS combinations and then 2000 plus real mobile devices. We also support 30 plus integrations natively within Testsigma with some popular QA tools like Azure DevOps, Jira, Jenkins, AWS, Slack. That's a little bit about Testsigma. Typically, a lot of our customers have replaced multiple tools with one single platform, which is Testsigma. So it could be, your testing infra, as I said earlier. It could be your test management suites, as I mentioned earlier. Multiple frameworks for multiple different application types, and then it could be your reporting tools as well. So that's a little bit about Testsigma. And I was mentioning earlier, we cater to about 10,000 teams across industries and stages. Some of the big names that you see here are customers like Bosch, Samsung, Oscar Health, and IEEE. So that's a little bit about Testsigma. Now getting into the meat of the webinar itself, which is about the need for continuous testing. What we have seen of late is that the testing cycles are coming down, release cycles are becoming shorter and shorter. With this being the phenomenon, as I mentioned, there is not enough time to do a thorough uh, round of testing, which is why a lot of bugs get pushed to production systems, and then that gets discovered either by the customers, or which leaves a bad experience for the customers. So this necessitates continuous testing, which means that at every stage of your release cycle, be it from design to development and then testing is supposed to be done throughout all of the stages. And this is where a lot of teams struggle with, because they still do tests manually, run tests manually, which is not a bad thing. But given the aggressive timelines, it may not be possible to thoroughly cover the entire scope of application. So that's the need for continuous testing. So like I mentioned, when the feedback is shared at a very later stages with the development teams, then majority of the development teams will not be able to resolve the issues within timelines, and then the overall development time itself gets slowed. So this again necessitates continuous testing. With this approach, what you can also do is, with continuous testing, because you're automating your tests and you're testing them continuously, you should be able to give faster feedback for your development teams, and then subsequently they will be able to fix those early, and then again test them continuously and release them faster, which means that your end customers will see new features and updates very frequently. This is the need for continuous testing. So how do you use Testsigma to make continuous testing a reality? One is, write automated tests 10 times faster. So be it your functional tests, be it your API tests, be it your end-to-end tests, integration tests, you can write all of these automated tests for web applications, mobile applications, irrespective of what the platform is. You'll be able to create automated tests for all of these applications using plain English, or you can leverage GenAI to create automated tests for these. And once you create automated tests, you'll be able to run them either on the cloud or on your local devices, and execute these tests without any manual intervention. So that's how you kind of make continuous testing a reality. Also, the other big problem we are solving through Testsigma is the need for reducing the overall maintenance effort. So a lot of these automated tests that uh, people create, they require heavy maintenance. More than the test creation part, the maintenance effort takes a lot of time. So which is what we are solving for. The tests you create with Testsigma necessarily do not require a lot of maintenance, unless something completely changes in the application. Let's say if it's only about a element property that gets changed, then Testsigma will be able to automatically identify and self-heal those elements for you. Therefore, your entire maintenance effort comes down. And then natively, you will be able to integrate with your CI/CD pipelines through the native integrations that we support. Or if there is anything that we natively don't support, you can always use the REST APIs to integrate those tools with Testsigma, and you can automatically trigger your tests through the CI/CD pipelines. and then share the feedback directly with your developers through Slack or through email. Whenever there is a test that fails, you can immediately notify your development team saying, hey, this is where the test failed, and here are the logs, and here are the screenshots and videos of the execution. So that's something that you could do with Testsigma. Now we will try and show this to you through a demo. Over to you, Vishnu.
Thank you, Kalyan, for the insights. Yeah. Hi guys, my name is Vishnu. So today I'll be walking you guys through the product. So we'll first see how to create a test case or the different approaches that we have and how easy and simple it is. Then we'll see how we can basically group those test cases, set up suites and create execution plans, which then can be integrated with your pipeline. So first we'll start by creating a new test script. So create test case, right? So once you have set up your test case, you can go ahead and give it a name and basically start authoring your script. So we will be writing the test cases using simple English statements. We call them as NLPs. It stands for natural language programming. So we have predefined NLPs, which pretty much covers every action and any sort of validations that you want to perform on your application. So if you go to this help section, you can pretty much find that we have covered every action and all sorts of validations. We also have functionalities that can extend the NLP capabilities, wherein the users can write their own customized NLPs. So those are called as add-ons, where you will be able to write and add your own custom NLPs into the platform using Java. So today I'll be automating a simple web application. So first, there are two approaches of automation in Testsigma. One is a manual approach and the other one is a recorder-based approach. So we'll be seeing both the approaches today. Let's start with the manual one. So here, the first step is already added for us. We just need to pass the URL of the application that we are looking to navigate to, right? And let's say after navigating to the URL, I want to click on the login sign up button. So I'm automating a simple login flow. So I just need to type out. So in the manual approach, all I have to do is just type out the keyword of the action that I want to perform. So if I want to perform a click, I just type in click. It shows me different variations of that action. So every action, so any kind of action that you type in will have certain variations. And here you can go ahead and choose what specific action you want to perform. So according to your use case, you can go ahead and select the specific NLP, and you can either select an element which is already being created, or you can create a new element using the recorder. So we have a browser-based plugin called as Testsigma Recorder, which basically helps you in capturing these elements. It also will help you in recording the steps when it comes to the step recorder approach. So now we'll first see how this recorder helps you in capturing the elements. So you click on create element. You simply hit the record button, navigate to your application, and all you have to do is just click on that element and it captures the locator of this particular element. So it is as simple as that. You can easily capture these elements. You don't have to worry about the technical aspect of it. So basically the recorder does all the technical heavy lifting for you. You can go ahead and give it a name. You can assign it a screen name, and to make sure that, like, if you later want to find this element, you can easily find it based on the name or the screen name that you've assigned it. These are reusable elements. So once you create an element, it is stored in a centralized repository, which is like a reusable component, right? So next time you want to use this element, you don't have to record it again. You can simply search for the element using the name or the screen name and add it to your step. So why we have kept it centralized is that it becomes easy to maintain. So let's say you are using this element in 100 test cases, and later if this element has been changed or removed, you don't have to visit 100 test cases to make the changes. You can simply make the changes in one place. It then updates in all the test cases. So that's the whole purpose. It is to reduce the maintenance effort. So you don't have to like invest a lot of time in maintaining the test cases. So this is a manual approach. It is very straightforward. You just type out the keyword, choose the action that you need. You either pass the data. So we have a couple of options of you can pass the data. So currently I'm hard coded it, but you can parameterize it. You can create environments. So if you want to run the script across multiple environments, you can set up those environments in Testsigma, and then you can call the environment parameters. You can generate the data. So if you, let's say in your step, the data that you want to pass, you want to basically randomize the data, you can use data generators to generate data. And we have additional features like phone number and mailbox, which helps you with like OTP related scenarios and email related scenarios, right? So these are the different data types that we have, and pretty much the manual approach is very straightforward. You type out the keyword, you choose the action, you pass the data, or record the element. Now coming to the step recorder basically simplifies this approach so that you don't have to like go on, type in, click enter. So you simply have to perform the actions. It is going to capture those actions and create the test steps for you. So we'll see the recorder approach now. So once on the top right hand side, if you see, you have this record button. So once you hit record, it basically launches a new browser session along with the step recorder. So Kalyan, can you confirm if you're able to see my new screen that just popped up?
Yes, Vishnu.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So the step recorder, it is very straightforward. You just have to perform the actions and it basically captures that and adds that as test steps. On the right hand side, you'll be able to see that it is basically capturing all the data and all the actions that I'm performing. I can simply build out my test case without investing much of time, right? I can quickly automate certain scenarios. And you also have the capabilities to add steps manually as well. So of course, not every action cannot be, like you cannot perform every action. So some certain actions you might need to type it out and add them manually. So you have the option to do that as well. So you can simply type out the keyword and choose the specific action that you need. Now, one new addition that we have made to the step recorder is the AI functionalities here. So one is generate scenarios and the other one is write prompts. So how generate scenario, basically generate scenario helps you with the test coverage part of it. So in this particular screen, if you want to be sure that if you have automated all the possible scenarios in this particular screen, you can say, you can ask the AI to generate the scenarios and it will generate all possible scenarios that you can automate in this particular screen and it will present it to you, right? Then you can, let's say you have missed out any scenario. Let's say I've missed out to add a validation to see if the login functionality is working or not working in this case. So I can say verify login functionality, and it is going to then generate the steps for that. So this is early stages. So this just launched last month and we are constantly working on it to improve the AI. And the more input that it gets, the more better that it becomes in authoring or also generating the scenarios. So currently, as you can see, it quickly enters the password, clicks on submit button, and it also adds the validation. So not just adding the validation, it is also capturing the necessary data it requires for performing that validation. So this helps you with test authoring and also it helps you with the test coverage aspect. So you can be sure that you have covered all the scenarios in a particular page. We also have the option to write prompts. So if you're not happy with the scenario or the steps that they are generated on its own, you can give it prompts. So let's say I want to quickly add validation, like I want to validate all the text in this particular page, but I don't want to type out validate like 10 times and add those steps back like manually. So I can just say validate all the text. And ask the AI to generate the steps for me. And it just quickly, within 10 seconds, it is going to then capture all the necessary data and add all the necessary validations, which I can then choose to add into my test case, or I can, if I want to further modify this, I can go ahead and write better prompts. So this is a quick way. So as you can see, it has basically validated every text in this page with just one single line that we wrote. So it is as simple as that. So using this, you can basically just a way of like helping you automate faster, right? So you don't have to spend a lot of time generating these steps. The AI can generate it for you. And this is just the beginning. So we are going to be improving upon this and add more functionality to this. So we've seen how to basically create or record the steps. So once you have captured these steps, they get added to your test case and pretty much it is completely flexible. So when if you've recorded the steps, you can go ahead and make any kind of changes in this test script. So you can add steps in between. You can remove unnecessary steps. So sometimes when you're recording, there might be some unnecessary steps that gets recorded and basically make any kind of changes to your test case. So once you have created the test case, you can execute them right here. So this is an ad hoc run. So you can choose between Testsigma Lab and local device. Testsigma Lab is a cloud device form that we provide. Here you will have access to 800 plus different browser version combinations that you can choose from, right? And on the other hand, if you want to run it locally on your own, let's say you want to run it locally on your own machine, you can use Testsigma agent, which is basically, you just need to download the agent, register your machine, and you can use the local device option to run it on your own machine. Now I'm not going to run the test case. We'll just see an execution result. So the result page contains all the information that you need. So it has step level results, which has screenshot attached for every step. You'll have the option to watch the video of the execution over here. you can also check the logs from that particular session. So in case if any of the test case fails, it is very easy to debug. You can go through the steps. So there will be in detail error messages here. If a particular step fails, you have screenshots and videos that will basically assist you to make the judgment if it was something to do with the test case or if something to do with the app. And we also have auto healing, as Kalyan mentioned. Auto healing is a functionality that will greatly help you with maintenance. So if you see in this particular third step over here, there were some changes made to this UI and the password field was changed. And rather than it failing the test case, it basically auto healed on its own. So this is something that happens in the backend. You don't have to even worry about it. So basically, if there are some UI level changes, the AI auto healing will be able to detect that. It will be then able to create a new, like it generates a new XPath and finds that element and basically continues with the script without failing it. So it is like a self-maintenance so that it reduces a lot of maintenance effort from your end. And every time there is small changes made, you don't have to go ahead and uh, make necessary changes to all the test cases. So what you saw now is an ad hoc run. So we just created one test case, we executed it, right? So once we have all the necessary test cases automated, we can then group those test cases and create an execution plan called as test plan. And this test plan then can be integrated with your pipelines, or you can set up schedules to run them, right? So we'll see how to create a plan. So first we have all the test cases automated, then we can go ahead and group them. So you can create test suites to group your test cases. You can go ahead and give it a name. And you can add the test cases that you want to group to this particular suite. You can add them in the order that you want them to run and create your suite. So once you have created, similarly, you can go ahead and group all your test cases and set up all the suites that you need. And then you can create an execution plan. So I already have a plan created. So I'll just edit that and walk you guys through the process. So in the first page, you just need to give the test plan details. And in the second tab, you need to add the suites that you want to run as a part of this plan. So you can go ahead and add in multiple suites if you want to, if you want to run multiple test suites in this particular plan, you can go ahead and add them. And then you can choose the different machines that you want to test in. So here I've already added one machine. So let's say if I want to add one more machine to this list, I can go ahead and say add machine. I can choose what specific configuration I want to test in. I can also choose how I want to run them, whether I want to run them sequentially or parallelly. So depending on the number of parallel license that your account has, you'll be able to run the suites and the test cases in sequence or in parallel. So it basically reduces the execution time so that your pipeline does, if you're executing it through your pipeline, you don't have to wait a long time. So if you have multiple test cases on multiple devices, if you're executing across, running in parallel basically reduces the execution time. You can go ahead and set up to receive notifications. So let's say if you want, whenever the test plan reaches any of the following states, if you want to receive an email notification, or if you want to notify in any of the channels like Google Chat, Slack, or MS Teams, you can set that up through webhook and you can push notifications to any of these channels. Now, once you have created a plan, you can integrate this plan with multiple CIs, you can integrate with any of these CI/CD platforms, and the integration looks pretty much the same. So you'll have a YAML file and you'll have a batch script or a PowerShell script that you'll be using to trigger the plan. So we we wanted to demo Azure DevOps today, but due to some technical issues, we are gonna we're unable to execute in Azure DevOps. So we'll be showing you GitHub. So which is pretty much the same process. There's no difference, right? And yeah, let's see how that integration looks like. So basically, once you have your repository here, you need a workflow. So in your GitHub, you need a workflow repository, right? And in this workflow repository will contain many YAML files which cater to different build processes. So we have created one over here, which is Testsigma CI/CD YAML file, which basically triggers a build process whenever there is a code commit, right? And this YAML file basically has the build steps to trigger the test plan. So we have this YAML file in our documentation. So all you have to do is just copy it and create a YAML file here. And this YAML file is basically calling a batch script. So this batch script will be used to execute the plan. So let me show you the batch script over here, which I've set up. So this also is provided in the documentation. So the only changes that you need to do in the batch script is you need to provide the API key and you need to provide the test plan ID. Let me show you how you can generate the API key and also where you can find the test plan ID. So if you go back to Testsigma, if you go to settings, right? If you go to settings and there will be an option called API keys, you can generate an API key here, copy it and pass it over here. And the second thing you need is the test plan ID. So if you go to your test plan that you just created, if you go to the test plan that you just created, every test plan will have a test plan ID over here or in the URL. So you can find it over here. You just need to copy this ID, pass it over here. So that's all that is required. And regarding Azure DevOps, it is pretty much the same. So let me just quickly show you the documentation. So once you create a pipeline, right? So you need to add a YAML file, which basically contains the same information. So here you are triggering a batch or shell script, right? And this shell script is also provided here, and you need to provide the API key as well as the test plan ID. So for all the integrations, it is pretty much the same process. You're using YAML files to trigger the plan and the batch script. So once I make any kind of code commit now to this particular repository, it is going to trigger a build process. So let me just quickly make an edit here and make a commit. Just as an example. So once I make a commit, it is now going to trigger the plan that we have set up. Yeah, it triggered the plan. So it is as simple as that. So once this setup is done, you'll be able to then integrate this plan with your pipelines. And then whenever there is a deployment, so that you can trigger the plan from the pipeline using YAML files and batch scripts.